And so he became hypersensitive and blamed the media for the crashes of his relationships, never thinking that they could have something to do with himself. So he's a very complicated, depressed, unintelligent man who is seeking a role and has got really nobody on whom he could rely, which is in the end where Meghan stepped in. I mean, a needy man met a woman who could help him with his needs.
Tom Bower just dropped a shocker that flips everything they knew about Harry and Meghan's marriage completely upside down. According to the veteran royal biographer, there's a clause buried deep inside their prenuptial agreement, and it's anything but harmless. Page 14, Clause 7. Something Harry reportedly signed without fully grasping what it actually meant at the time. And once you hear what that clause really says, recent moves stop looking messy and start looking. Suddenly, Meghan quietly bringing Sunshine Sachs back into the picture in January 2026 doesn't feel random anymore. The alleged money shifts happening quietly since 2022 also start making a lot more sense. Behind the scenes, things were moving long before anyone noticed, and Tom Bower is warning that Harry could be on the line for losing far more than most people realize. But before diving into that clause, one thing needs to be crystal clear. Tom Bower isn't some online rumor pusher tossing guesses into the void. He's a former barrister and a BBC investigative journalist with decades of serious experience under his belt. For over 40 years, he's taken on powerful figures who believed they were untouchable, and he didn't miss.
Aggressive PR for the Sussexes got way beyond herself because she really doesn't understand the British royal family or Britain, but understands how to project her clients. And so I think she got it wrong by leaking it or even letting anyone know about it.
And of course, the news today that Harry's memoir is going to be published in the near future will just alarm the royal family here in England about what he's actually going to say to earn his money.
He helped expose Robert Maxwell, the disgraced media tycoon. He dug into Mohammed Al Fayed's business dealings, and he pulled the curtain back on how Simon Cowell's empire really worked behind closed doors. When Tom Bower puts something in print, it's reviewed by lawyers, not fueled by online noise. His reputation didn't appear out of nowhere. His work is known for being legally tight, carefully checked, and built to survive pressure. That's exactly why his claims land differently. When he writes something, it's not speculation, it's documented. For his book Revenge, Bower conducted more than 80 interviews with people who worked directly with Meghan. That included palace staff, Hollywood insiders, and legal professionals involved in contracts and negotiations. He didn't rely on anonymous internet whispers. He built his case the same way he did as a lawyer: documents, timelines, and facts that can be verified. So when Tom Bower says he's seen evidence of specific prenuptial clauses, he's not guessing. According to him, he spoke directly with legal professionals involved in drafting royal marriage agreements. He also examined how British royal protocol clashes head-on with California law, and that's where things start getting messy.
I think personally, they've separated their professional lives, but I think what's really a great problem for them now, as of in the last few weeks, is that Meghan has got no real income anymore. She's finished.
What he found on page 14 helps explain why Sunshine Sachs, a firm known for handling one very specific type of crisis, suddenly reappeared. This wasn't casual PR support. It lined up with something much bigger brewing in the background. High-profile divorce strategy often starts years before any paperwork gets filed. Most prenups are basic: listing assets, explaining how shared property gets divided, and outlining spousal support or time-based conditions. Royal prenups, though, are a whole different level. They're designed to protect crown assets, properties held in trust, and long-term royal interests. They even include rules about titles after separation and strict limits around public behavior and media appearances. These documents aren't casual forms. They control image, money, and outcomes for years. For example, the agreement between Charles and Diana included detailed provisions about her title after the split. That shows how tightly these documents are structured.
Meghan herself.
And Meghan herself.
In the months before she met Harry, was setting up paparazzi pictures in London. She now acts as if the paparazzi are literally the devil incarnate.
She begged the paparazzi to photograph her, and they wouldn't.
Harry and Meghan's situation had one massive curveball: California law. Under California's community property rules, anything earned during the marriage is jointly owned. That includes streaming deals, media contracts, and even certain inheritances received after the wedding date. According to Tom Bower's sources, the prenup included a clause designed to handle this exact legal conflict. But here's where things get spicy. The clause doesn't just split earnings evenly. It reportedly includes very specific language about intellectual property rights. That means control over the stories being sold, the Sussex brand, joint ventures, and even material connected to Harry's memoir, Spare. Once that clicks, recent decisions stop looking chaotic. Suddenly, nothing feels accidental anymore.
And when they did, she says, "Oh, I don't want to, I'm hurt." And that ridiculous story about how they first met, the whole thing was a tissue of inaccuracies, to be polite.
Well, because what do you make of that? Because as you know, Harry was always very insistent.
All of this falls under a clause Tom Bower says heavily favors Meghan's position. Why? Because she's listed as the business manager for their joint ventures. She negotiated deals, handled contracts, and under California law, that carries serious weight. Combined with the wording in the prenup, Meghan holds the primary claim to the revenue streams they built together. That's not emotion, that's paperwork. But here's what Tom Bower calls the most damaging part of all. This clause wasn't part of the original 2018 prenup. According to his sources, it was added later through a prenuptial amendment.
As the fairy tale Prince Harry and Meghan Markle embarked on in 2016 become an absolute nightmare for them. Despite marrying in St. George's Chapel in Windsor, it seems like life hasn't been so rosy for the couple. They have gone through endless challenges, the vast majority of which are all self-inflicted. And this weekend, we had some new news that seems to kind of reiterate the idea that Meghan Markle...
Harry reportedly signed it without reading it carefully, trusting Meghan completely. Prenuptial amendments happen more often than people realize, but this one may have changed everything. Couples update prenups all the time after big life changes. That part is normal. Having kids, buying property together, or launching businesses usually triggers a revision. On paper, it looks routine and responsible. But in Harry and Meghan's case, the timing of this update is what makes people pause. Tom Bower's investigation found their prenuptial agreement was amended in 2020. That timing is loud. This was the exact moment they were stepping away from royal life, moving to California, and locking in massive entertainment deals. At the same time, their finances were being reshaped and brand new business entities were being created. On the surface, updating agreements during that phase makes sense. But this amendment didn't just adjust figures, it shifted control. And that's where eyebrows really started going up.
She wants to go back to the past. She wants to relive her glory days because she has hired Sunshine Sachs as her new PR representatives, who were representing her back in 2016. And at the same time, Harry is in the UK fighting for a court case that really has no bearing on any of this, but we have heard endlessly that he wants to reestablish himself.
Bower spoke with lawyers who worked on Meghan's first divorce from Trevor Engelson. They described her as extremely detail-focused during negotiations. Someone who read every line, challenged every clause, and left nothing unchecked. She didn't rely on a single lawyer either. She had a full legal team reviewing everything during that first divorce. According to them, Meghan learned one major lesson early on. Protect your earning power at all costs. When she separated from Trevor, the financial exit was clean. No loose ends, no confusion. Everything had been structured carefully during the marriage. Now fast forward to Harry's situation, and the pattern starts looking familiar.
And what would Diana think of Harry attacking William in that way? She'd be appalled by her son's behavior. And that was, again, so nauseating, the way he kept on bringing in Diana. Diana, who appealed to the media all the time, who phoned journalists secretly, who brought Martin Bashir into her office, who cooperated with Andrew Morton, who kept on calling Richard Kay. I mean, this is ridiculous.
The Netflix deal dropped in September 2020, followed closely by the Spotify deal. Around that same time, their foundation and main business entities were also being set up. This wasn't coincidence. It was coordination. According to Bauer, the prenup amendment was signed right in the middle of this business-building phase. California law already gave Meghan a claim to half of everything earned during the marriage. But the amendment, sources say, handed her something even more powerful than money: control.
Apparently, Prince Harry is already talking to divorce lawyers.
So this is kind of interesting. This is the woman that the papers are citing for this reporting is a longtime royal insider, a socialite. She's been right. I've been following her because she's great TV. She's been right about a lot. And she's claiming she's heard from several sources now that he's hired a lawyer, and it happens to be somebody who's a great divorce lawyer and specializes in divorce.
She's listed first on multiple business registrations, including Archwell. Even more eye-opening, Bauer says she negotiated a clause that gives her majority ownership of the brand if they ever separate. Bauer also spoke with members of Meghan's former legal team from her first divorce. What they revealed shows a clear and consistent approach that's been visible since 2013.
And it dovetails on other reports that he is spending a lot of his time in two hotels, one of which is in Montecito, another of which is not too far away, as an escape from her. It's entirely plausible. All they've done for 5 years is complain and moan and see themselves as downtrodden victims. That doesn't tend to spur a lot of feelings of love and happiness and close bonding. I mean, I guess in the crisis mode, it might.
Back then, she made one thing very clear to her lawyers. She wanted an exit strategy that left her fully independent. No messy ties, no shared assets that required ongoing contact. She wanted a clean break that protected her career and her finances, and that same mindset appears to show up again years later. Tom Bauer also uncovered that Meghan first hired Sunshine Sachs back in 2017. That was right when she started dating Harry. That timing wasn't accidental. Sunshine Sachs isn't just a regular PR firm. They specialize in high-stakes crisis management and brand protection during major life transitions. Now it becomes clearer why she brought them back years later. Sunshine Sachs built its name handling celebrity separations and reputation resets. They famously worked with Katie Holmes during her split from Tom Cruise and managed multiple high-profile breakups in 2020. Interestingly, that same year, Meghan and Harry initially cut ties with Sunshine Sachs. The public reason was budget issues. But Bauer says sources inside the firm tell a different story. According to them, it wasn't about money at all. Meghan wanted tighter control over messaging through Archwell's in-house communications. Fast forward to January 2026. Meghan quietly brought Sunshine Sachs back into the fold. And the timing raised serious questions. Tom Bauer says it's simple math. Anyone familiar with divorce PR knows you bring in specialists 3 to 6 months before filing. That's when narratives get shaped, stories get placed, and public sympathy starts forming. But Bauer says the strongest signal isn't just the PR move. It's what Meghan has been doing with money since 2022. She launched American Riviera Orchard, a lifestyle brand set up as a completely separate business entity. It was filed solely under her name. According to Bauer, the trademarks don't include Harry at all. She's also been seen attending business meetings in Los Angeles on her own. Every move points in the same direction: preparation. That pattern lines up almost perfectly with the approach she used before divorcing Trevor Engelson. Build an independent professional identity, create solo income streams, reduce financial reliance on a spouse. It's a clean, disciplined strategy, not an emotional one. Bauer makes it clear the prenup alone doesn't tell the whole story. The financial moves Meghan has made since 2022 fill in the gaps. When you line them up, the picture gets sharp fast. Take the Netflix deal that was widely reported at $100 million. That number was never a fat check handed over up front. Entertainment insiders broke down for Bauer how these deals actually work. That $100 million figure was the maximum payout, only if all contracted content got delivered. They released the documentary series and Meghan's cooking show. But the animated series, Pearl, was canceled, and several other projects never made it off the ground. According to Bauer's sources, the total payout landed closer to $40 million before Netflix downgraded the deal to a first-look arrangement. And that's where the timeline starts getting real interesting. In 2022, right as projects began stalling or quietly falling apart, Meghan shifted gears fast. That's when she began filing trademarks for American Riviera Orchard as a solo venture, not shared, not joint, fully under her name. She also hired lawyers to create separate business entities completely outside of Archewell. This wasn't improvising, it was restructuring. The reported $38 million in debt, Bauer says, isn't reckless spending at all. He describes it as strategic financial repositioning. Every move looks intentional, not sloppy. The Montecito mansion is titled in a way that takes advantage of California homestead protections. Investments were shifted into separate accounts. Bauer spoke with financial advisors who work with high-net-worth clients preparing for divorce, and their take was blunt. They said everything Meghan has done since 2022 follows textbook asset protection strategy. No guessing, no chaos. This is a known playbook. American Riviera Orchard was filed solely in her name, not jointly with Harry. Her podcast deal with Lemonada Media lists her as the sole proprietor. Even The Bench was a solo project with zero financial tie to Harry. Bauer points to 2022 as the turning point. That's when Meghan pivoted away from joint ventures and leaned fully into solo projects. It's also when she stopped appearing publicly with Harry unless contracts required it. According to Bauer, that's when the exit plan quietly went live. Business filings, public appearances, and financial structures all started lining up toward independence. By 2023, everything she'd been building behind the scenes was fully operational. Trademarks locked, contracts secured, legal protections in place, all under her control. Bauer says she positioned herself so that even if Harry tried to challenge anything, the structure of the prenup and her businesses would shield her completely. The strategy isn't unusual. The precision is what stands out. Every move mirrored her first divorce approach: separate income, solo filings, and a carefully managed public image that kept her in the driver's seat. She still appeared alongside Harry when absolutely necessary. But behind the scenes, the financial cords were getting cut one by one. Meanwhile, Archewell kept running, but the power balance shifted. Meghan's name appeared first on official documents, giving her legal authority over decisions and brand usage. Sources told Bauer that even joint venture profits were structured to give her primary control, with Harry placed in a secondary position. And Sunshine Sachs returning in January 2026 wasn't just about PR. Bauer says it was about preparing the ground for what comes next. Divorce PR is all about timing. You bring in specialists before anything becomes public, so the story is already framed. Public perception matters almost as much as legal contracts. According to insiders, Meghan has been working quietly with Sunshine Sachs to shape messaging and prepare for potential legal pressure. Stories get placed carefully, sympathy gets built, credibility gets reinforced. And at the same time, Harry is subtly positioned as the weaker side of the equation. Bauer is clear about one thing from the start: none of this is random. These aren't accidental leaks or lucky timing. He says they're carefully shaped narratives that line up perfectly with a long-term plan. Financially, the groundwork laid since 2022 created serious protection. Solo ventures, trademarks, and contracts were all structured to stay hers under any separation scenario. Nothing was left floating. Even real estate moves followed the same pattern. The Montecito property was titled to maximize California homestead protections. According to Bauer, every dollar was tracked and positioned well ahead of time. He also highlights the psychological side of the strategy: By cutting back joint appearances and boosting solo visibility, Meghan steadily increased her leverage. Less togetherness, more independence, and the message landed. Solo interviews, individual media coverage, and independent public appearances reinforced a public image of self-sufficiency. And the legal structure behind the scenes made sure that image was backed up on paper. Another major piece is intellectual property. Bauer's sources say the prenup amendment gives Meghan control over content created through joint ventures. That includes media series, books, and brand-related projects. Even if contracts continue bringing in money, she controls how profits are distributed and how the content gets used. That's power, not just income. By the time Sunshine Sachs returned, Meghan was already set. Businesses locked, IP secured, legal protections in place, and the media narrative already moving in the same direction. That's why Bauer refuses to describe the prenup and its amendments as simple paperwork. He calls it the cornerstone of a much bigger, carefully executed strategy. Every move from 2022 onward follows the same clean pattern. According to Bauer, this isn't just asset protection. He says Meghan has been building an independent empire step by step, and anyone who underestimates how detailed this planning is could be caught off guard. The moves looked subtle on the surface, but when you stack them together, they form a strategy that leaves her secure, insulated, and fully in control. Bauer says it wasn't rushed or emotional. It was methodical. Once the media connects the dots between the prenup, the amendments, the business filings, and Sunshine Sachs returning, the picture snaps into focus fast. And suddenly, it's clear this was never only about money, it's about power, control, and long-term independence. That's why insiders believe this story isn't close to done. That single clause in the prenup amendment gave Meghan the legal base she needed to execute the entire plan. Bauer's timeline is tight, and he describes it as unsettling. He predicts Meghan could file for divorce within 6 months of January 2026. That timing isn't random at all. California law requires a 6-month period before a divorce can be finalized. Meghan has been based in California for years, clearly meeting that requirement without issue. According to Bauer, the moment divorce papers are filed, the prenup clauses activate automatically. No delay, no extended negotiation window. Title restrictions affecting Harry kick in immediately. Asset division begins. And most importantly, the intellectual property clause decides who controls the brand going forward. Bauer says Harry could lose the Montecito home, which may be sold as part of asset division. He also risks losing majority control of Archwell. There could even be complications around caregiving arrangements. Since the family is based in California and Meghan is listed as the primary caregiver, stability becomes a major factor. California standards heavily weigh routine and continuity. Bauer says the amendment Harry signed without fully understanding also limits his ability to monetize his royal story beyond what's already been published. That door may already be shut. The caregiving issue adds another layer of complexity. Courts often favor consistency for children. If Meghan can show she's handled day-to-day care while Harry travels for legal matters or other obligations, the structure usually holds. But the question everyone keeps asking stays simple. Does Harry see what's coming? Bauer's answer is one of the most striking parts of his analysis. He believes Harry senses something is off, but doesn't fully grasp the legal position he's in. Bauer points to Harry's courtroom behavior in London, the visible stress, the emotional reactions, the clashes with judges. He says that's not the posture of someone confident and secure. It's someone who knows something is broken, but can't see the full map yet. Sources close to Harry told Bauer he feels increasingly isolated. His legal team reportedly warned him about the financial risks tied to ongoing cases. Yet Meghan encouraged him to keep pushing forward, and Bauer raises a sharp question. Why continue lawsuits that drain money unless someone knows those liabilities could eventually fall on him alone? Once a divorce is filed, Bauer's final assessment is blunt. He says Harry signed away his future on page 14, clause 7, and is only now beginning to understand the impact. According to Bauer, that clause could leave Harry with very little control going forward, while Meghan retains the brand, the majority of assets, and long-term stability. The amendment signed in 2020, Bauer argues, wasn't designed to protect the marriage. It was designed to manage its ending. So the final question hangs heavy. Was this planned from the start, or is Bauer connecting dots that only look clear in hindsight? What makes the theory hard to ignore is how cleanly everything lines up. The amendments, the business filings, the PR strategy, the timing of Sunshine Saxe's return. Taken together, it all points in one direction. Meghan built an independent empire with legal protection that keeps her firmly in control. And for Harry, according to Bauer, this could mark the beginning of a very difficult reckoning.